For the longest time, it always felt like I hated the man in the mirror. Even though I had confidence in myself and I had proved my abilities to myself, which is the most important thing, because you have to prove to yourself you can do the thing you set out to do, so therefore you then have confidence and belief to go forward. Because when you move forward in life, nobody, maybe you're lucky to have a few good friends or family, but nobody is really gonna be rooting for you apart from I call them the sensible people, what want people to get on. And it can feel quite a challenge to find those people, to the point where I've kind of felt these people from afar. I've been doing something and it's been working out, but I have come across opposition, and my way around the opposition is to almost imagine my own cheerleading squad. And interestingly, in life, when you meet new people, you do come across people who want you to succeed and want you to do well. And usually those people tend to be people who are successful themselves, or people what value you. And for the longest time, when I disliked myself, sometimes I even despised myself. Sometimes when I woke up, just being me was a lot. And I would try and distance myself from my own personality, my own being. I would try and forget about myself. I would watch TV or read books, and that person in the mirror, I didn't realize was sort of taking on its own personality and becoming its own thing. But for the longest time, I had no connection. I was disconnected from that being. And when things went wrong, I hated myself. When things went right, this is the interesting flip side of this, I also disliked myself with a passion, because I didn't believe I was allowed things. Why am I the one where things go right for me? I didn't believe it. It's a bit like YouTube. When I first set out, I didn't think I deserved 2 subscribers, and then you get 2 subscribers and you think, why me? Why do 2 people want to listen to me? So it's like this double-edged sword. It's like you get the thing you want, and you get it because you believe you can do it, and when you set out on the journey to get it, you know you can do it. But when you get it, you have this imposter syndrome, and it became this sort of this back and forth, and this weird realm where I'm always trying to improve myself, whether it be the way I look, whether it be my career, whether it be how I interact with people. And one of the things you learn, two of the things you learn, one of the things is it's good to criticize yourself. If the voice becomes too loud and it becomes too harsh, then it's a problem. But it's good to criticize yourself in other senses, because it stops you being an arse, to put it mildly. It stops you coming across. You don't ever really want to be that person. You always want to be working on what you've got and trying to improve it. But at the same time, you also have to witness what you've done and enjoy it, and let other people enjoy it. Another reason why what you learn when you're not so harsh on yourself is that it is the world. Without sounding like a victim, and I'm somebody who is very careful in my life to step into the territory of trying to be a victim, because for me in my life, it's felt like I've had opposition my whole life, from the area I was born, from my family dynamic, to friends, to career. It felt like I've had a lot of opposition, and I've always been fighting to get my voice and to get myself over. And that was also motivation for me. If I was part of a lot of rivalries, and I've unconsciously stepped out of them now, and they're still happening with me, but I'm just not a part of it. If you grow up in, I guess, any industry, but in my case, the media industry, entertainment, you come across people who will be your friend at first, and through jealousy, you split, and there can be falling out, there can be theft of work, and you can be criminalized, you can have things stolen from you, and you can be made out to be the bad guy, and then that puts you into this sort of fight because you're both working in the same industry, because you're both passionate and going for the same thing. You see each other's opposition because you no longer get along. And part of my maturing and part of my not hating myself anymore is stepping out of those conflicts and those races, because it's very hard, and I think it is the hardest thing in the world when somebody crosses the line, or when somebody is vindictive against you, or somebody is heinous towards you. It's very hard not to want to fight back, and I've used that motivation my whole life. So for me, and interestingly enough, I've never really been, because this path of fighting society, it can lead you down dark avenues. You can fall for conspiracy theories what are extremely flawed. You can join very problematic groups. You can be brainwashed very easy because you're so against the system, so against society. But that's an interesting thing, actually. I think that's maybe where I escaped. I was never against the system. I had my problems with the system like anybody else, but I was never me versus the world. It was more me versus groups of people. It was more me versus people what wouldn't allow me to be myself. And that's how you stop hating yourself, when you allow yourself to be yourself. And that's very hard to do. And it can be very hard to do for different reasons. Some of it can be macho reasons. So when I was growing up, men in my area, they handled themselves a certain way, and I didn't agree with any of that. And for the longest time, I didn't feel as maybe macho as them. But then when you travel or you meet other men, and the masculinity what you thought was the truth, you find other people, it kind of then makes those people look silly. But the place where I'm at now is I'm exiting from the race, because you're always going to have competitive, and people are always going to be silent and competing, because I myself do the same. When I see somebody do something what I would like to do, I store that, but I try to now look at it more as inspiration, as somebody who's a competitor. If somebody, I've come to make a video on YouTube before, and I've seen somebody a week before I make the video with way more subscribers than me make that topic. And interestingly, they've actually said everything I want to say about that topic. So do I then make the video? Do I not? And I looked at it more as I look at it now more as inspiration to make that content regardless of what somebody else, because this is my voice and this is my life. It's like a lot of people don't find climbing a mountain a good thing to do because it's hard, and they see it as many people have climbed it, what is the point? But I like climbing mountains, and that's one of the things I want to do, so therefore I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that's what you learn when you go down that path. It's a very hard path to go down. You're being true to yourself, and it's very possible not to maybe like yourself, that's the wrong word, but to admire yourself, and you can be inspired by yourself, but also to sort of realize all those voices what we're telling you not to do that, you don't need to listen to them. You don't need to worry about them, because they're their own separate life with their own separate beliefs, and there's always going to be somebody hating. And there's constructive hate, which is more interesting, but then there's just you do just get plain up bullying of people. Forget people's temperament, because we can be rational people, and because we handle ourselves we're civil, we can forget there's people out there what are just straight up I don't want to swear, but they're just not good people, and they just react to certain ways. And obviously, the correct thing to do would be to look at why they do that. But kind of shooting this in the foot, sometimes you're just going to come across somebody who's just not very nice, and you just need to get rid of them. So it's another reason why I don't look at YouTube comments, because I've said before, praise can go to your head and you can start thinking you're somebody or not, because I'm a big believer in this. I got into speaking, media, arts, because I want to have something to say and give people some sort of experience. And I think selfishly it's always going to kind of be about you, but I think it's very important that we leave this lasting impression, and that we connect with people. And I feel sometimes a lot of people can solely make the content they're making about them getting over it. They're not really offering anything, but at the same time there needs to be a barricade, because you're a normal person as well. And hate you can get people who are very clever. People are very clever at manipulation, so you can get people who hate in very interesting ways. They can almost reel you in. They can even reel you in by liking you, and then they like you, and then all of a sudden they become they turn extremely critical. It's like a snake, and it can be extremely jarring. And I think it is one of the more dangerous things we can face as we're going through life, is that you can have somebody who's very pleasant to you, and then the next minute they turn and the fangs are into you. Those are the hardest people to deal with. So I always think it's best not to look at anything and then just plow forward as your own person. And when you do that, you will have people saying this person's reckless, this person is insensitive, this person isn't thinking. You have all these different voices, and you have to find within yourself what you think is the correct thing. You've got to be the only person what can criticize yourself, but you've also got to let yourself off for being human. Okay, I'm gonna end the video here. It's a nice day today. It's a little too warm for this coat. We've got quite a lot of sunlight. I was gonna stand in the sun, but it just blew my camera out, so I'm going for this sort of dramatic shading here. Okay, enjoy your weeks, enjoy your lives. Let's get going, let's go do something. Ciao.